Hey everyone, this is the next part of the Toro Sportlawn Revival series. Okay, so in this video, we're going to be restoring or trying to clean out the gas tank, which is filled with like varnish and gunk, and so is the gas cap in the carburetor. So to fix this, I'm going to put vinegar. I'm going to remove the carburetor in the gas tank and put vinegar inside of the gas tank, and then put the carburetor in a little container of vinegar, which that's what that orange thing's for. Then I might try to see if I can get a new one of these, or maybe I might have to restore it, because if a gas cap gets rusty, you're gonna want to replace it, because then it can't vent properly, and then the engine won't run right. Okay, so the first step I'm gonna do is remove the gas tank from the carburetor. It's just 2 screws, and it makes it a lot easier to get the whole thing like maneuvered off of the throttle cable, and it's a lot easier to work on. Okay, so here's the gas tank. I just removed the 2 screws, and yeah, it's pretty nasty, and there's even some liquid inside there. And yeah, so when I go to reassemble this whole thing back together, I'm gonna make a new gasket out of some gasket paper, and then just trace the carburetor or whatever. So okay, so the next step is we're gonna remove the carburetor, and to do that, it's just 2 flathead screws. One of them's down there, and one of them's right there. And then we're going to remove this thing, which is kind of the throttle control. And then we're going to remove the throttle linkage from the throttle little butterfly here. So I'll do that, and then I'll turn you guys back on. Okay, so here's the carburetor. And as you can see, it's pretty rusty and dirty. So I'm just going to soak this in some vinegar and maybe get a little paintbrush and try to brush off the rust and dirt. And I'm gonna let the gas tank and the carburetor sit in vinegar until Friday. It's Monday right now, so that's like 4 or 5 days of good sitting. So that should hopefully dissolve all the rust and everything off of this. Okay, so before I put this thing in vinegar, a quick tip is get a little pick like this, and I just picked off all the rust from this little fuel intake here. And I got a small drill bit, and this is actually clogged, so I just ran it in there, and now it's clear. And another tip is, if you soak the whole thing in vinegar, take the jet out of it, this thing, and that will just let the vinegar get like the whole thing. But don't worry about that, because after, you can get like an air compressor and just blow everything out, so there's no vinegar left. Yeah, so I want to do that next. And then I'm going to put you guys back on when I'm ready to soak the gas tank and carburetor in vinegar. Okay, and one more thing. A tendency that these old Briggs and Stratton carburetors have with these is that they get cracked. So I took mine off, and when I'm done soaking the whole thing for like a week, I'm going to buy some 3/16 brake tubing, which is the same diameter as this thing, and then just put it in the hole where the fuel sucks up. Or I'm going to see if I can buy a plastic one of these with a screen in the end. So yeah, I'll let you guys know when I'm ready to soak the thing in vinegar. Okay, so I got the small parts in this orange container, and I have the gas tank right here, and I just got regular white vinegar. So now I'm just going to pour some in each of it. I already poured some in the gas tank, so now I'm just going to pour some in this orange thing for all the little parts. And you're going to want to submerge the parts, because it'll get all inside of it. So there we go. Oh, and by the way, you might want to put these inside of some kind of shed, or leave them out, because the vinegar, like, if you don't like the smell of vinegar, then you're gonna want to leave it out. But I would recommend leaving it in a building so that nothing touches it and spills it out and like wrecks your little test here. So yeah, so anyway, I'll turn this thing back on Friday, when we're gonna look at what the vinegar did and hopefully clean everything out. So bye for now, and see you on Friday. Okay, welcome back. So it's now Friday, and I've let the vinegar sit in the gas tank for about a week now, and I poured it out, and it's done nothing, and I'm not really surprised by that. So a trick I learned is from the old timer at the lawnmower shop. He told me to put nuts and bolts in the gas tank and get some gunk. It's carburetor cleaner, but you can use gas as well. And I'm going to show you what I did. What I've done is I've taped off the fuel filler and where the carburetor goes, and I've just put a little bit of gas inside of here and put some nuts and bolts in there. And now I'm going to shake it around for a little bit and then turn you guys back on when it's all clean, and hopefully it works. So yeah. Oh, and one more thing. You're going to want to tape it up, like all the holes in this really good, so that gas doesn't like spray everywhere and get all over everything. But yeah. Okay, so another tip, you might want to hold it with a rag because the tape doesn't quite seal that well. But and after doing it for a while, you're gonna want to like drain out the old fuel or whatever that you put in here and change it out, so that you can kind of tell easier if it's getting cleaner or not. So I'm gonna do that, and then I will keep shaking this, and hopefully it gets clean. Okay, everyone. So I've shaken around the gas and hardware mixture for about 10 or 15 minutes, and I've drained it out a couple of times, and now. I don't know if you can see this, but it's pretty clean in there. So now what I'm gonna do is run a rag in there and just like have a screwdriver to like move it around a bit, and yeah, then that should clean out the gas tank completely, and then I can put the carburetor back on once I get it back from the small engine shop that's cleaning it. So yeah, I'll turn you guys back on when I'm done cleaning the gas tank out. Okay, so what you're going to do with the screwdriver and the rag is just go like this a lot, and then it'll kind of look clean. Sorry, it's hard to see, I'm sorry. But it'll look like bare metal, which is what you want, not rusty old varnished gas like that. So just keep doing this until you get like the whole tank looking like bare metal on the inside. And then that means that it's perfectly clean and ready to put gas in. So everyone, so last time we left off with me cleaning up the gas tank. Though after that, I took off the old gasket that separates the carburetor from the gas tank, and as you can see, it's pretty shot. So I went to Canadian Tire, and I bought this plumbing gasket assorbent. It has like rubber and cork gaskets, and hopefully there's one in here. I think there is. That's around the same thickness as this. So what I'm going to do now is just take out one of these and trace this onto there, and then cut it out, and then that's going to be our new gasket. So I'm going to do that now, and I'll show you guys how to do it. Okay, so I'm gonna use the thin rubber one. So now I'm just gonna trace this guy onto the gasket. And a quick tip is to waste less material, try to line up the edges to the edges and not just go in the middle. It's just easier this way. And to get the holes out, I'm gonna find a drill bit that's the same size and just drill it out. So now I want to show you guys how to trace this, and then how to drill out all the holes so it's the right size. Okay, so now I just traced out the gasket and I just used a pen. So anything will work. So now I'm going to use maybe some scissors or this little knife here to cut it out. And yeah. Okay, so the correct size drill bit for the two small holes is 3/16. Okay, so now I just drilled out the two small holes, and now I'm just going to use like this knife to cut out the center one. And oh, a tip is when you're doing this, be very careful not to like cut out of the lines, because then you're going to have to make a new gasket. And this thing was like $16, so it's not that cheap. Yeah, so just be careful doing this, and then that's going to be your gasket. So yeah. Oh, also I'm going to use a smaller knife because it's just easier than using a bigger one. Okay, so now I'm just going to get a rag and spray some WD-40 on it to clean off all this like white residue, because it seems kind of weird, and I don't want it getting in the carburetor that I just got cleaned. Okay, so I'd say that's a pretty good match for my first time doing this. Okay, so here's the carburetor. I got it back from the lawnmower shop. They cleaned it for me. So before I can put this back on the fuel tank, I need to remove the old pickup tube because it's cracked, and I need to replace it with a new one. So I'm going to do that over the next couple of weeks, and then we can try to run the engine, and hopefully this old carburetor works. So yeah. Okay, everyone, I am now ready to install the carburetor and gas tank back onto the engine. So to do that, you're gonna need to remove the two screws here, and then put the gas tank on, and I'll show you how it should look when it's all done. And a good tip is put some thread locker on the two screws that hold the gas tank to the engine, because that will make sure that the screws don't rattle out when the engine is running. Okay, this is how it should look when you're all done. So now I'm going to configure the throttle linkages, and I'll show you guys how that looks when I'm all done. Okay, so this is the proper throttle linkage configuration for this engine. So what I'm going to do next is reassemble the engine, and we're going to go take it outside and see if it'll start. Okay guys, that's going to be a wrap for this video. If you liked it, give it a like, and please consider subscribing. See you next time.